Alright, so I was starting to get into how the Christians influenced Roman theater. Let me back up just a second. One of the things that the Romans used as a type of theater, especially in this type of propaganda theater they used, was the reenactment of battles. And so they would frequently take gladiators and, they would dress them up nominally as Roman soldiers anyway, and then they would take slaves or people they wanted to kill and dress them up as somebody who was an opponent to Rome, someone who they had recently conquered, and they would battle it out in the Colosseum, for instance, and it would show the Roman populace how strong and wonderful their army was. Frequently, the people who were dressed up were Christians, so Christians were sacrificed quite often. We think of Christians being sacrificed to the lions, that kind of thing happened. And again, this all ended in 303 BC when Constantine, ended the persecution of the Christians. But for those several hundred years, the Christians were a good target for anyone to make fun of, anyone to laugh at. They were laughable to the normal Romans because, well, they believed in a single God, and that would have been an extremely funny thing to them. Now, what's unfortunate is, as the Christians gained more and more power, as opposed to recognizing that perhaps they should lessen the persecution, the people in charge of theater tended to ramp it up a little bit. And so, the people running theater couldn't see into the future. They really couldn't see that the Christians were going to gain so much power. It would have been nice had they been able to do that, but they really, the people in the theaters really made an enemy of the Christians. It's not hard to imagine why. In stuff that we would, we tend to think of as Roman theater, it wouldn't have been unusual for someone to actually have sex on stage. It wouldn't be necessarily unusual for someone to die as a part of the production. It wouldn't, these are not what we like to think of as good Christian values. So, by the time the Christians gain power near the end of the Roman Empire, they're fed up with anybody who is associated with theater in any way, and therefore the Christians do their best to do away with theater. In 397 A.D., the Council of Carthage put forth their anti-theater edicts, and these were all these rules, these laws directed towards diminishing the power of theater. For instance, anybody who went to the theater on a religious day as opposed to going to church would be excommunicated. Actors were not allowed to get communion within the church. And this, by the end of the Roman Empire, theater it wasn't completely wiped out, was pretty much done away with by the church. The reason I find this really kind of funny is that what we're about to go into is 1,000 years, give or take. Yeah, it's really more like 800 of Dark Ages and then Middle Ages. and it is in the early Middle Ages, that transition out of the Dark Ages, where theater is then reborn, and it is reborn inside of the church. So the church kills it, or virtually kills it, during the Roman Empire, the waning days of the empire, and it is then reborn again within the church. The fall of the Roman Empire, for those who would like to know, is generally considered 476 AD. I will talk more next week about the Dark Ages period in through some of the Middle Ages such. I believe I've covered everything I need to cover right now. Thanks.